I took a survey and collected data, and people wanted to be able to go out to a restaurant. It was the number one thing. So I started a training program here in the Myrtle Beach area for restaurants, how to treat our families, where to seat them. And that was met with huge success. And then we had Surfside Beach declared the first autism-friendly travel destination anywhere in the world in 2016. And then that went on to training the hospitality industry, hotels, restaurants, blah, blah, blah. And we would do all that live and on site. And then that kind of, we started to approach mission creep with the nonprofit. So after a couple of years and the success, and of course, COVID, we took all of the training programs and we put them online. And now everybody in the world knows how to learn virtually.
Welcome back to Mother's Guide Through Autism podcast. I am Bridget Shipman, and I'm your host. Today, we're going to be speaking with Becky Large, and Becky has a great experience with and knowledge with traveling, destinations, and so much more. Nationally and internationally recognized for her support of people and families living with autism and the creation of the innovative Autism Travel Club program and Autism Travel App, formerly known as the CAN card. Becky continues to serve, support, and advocate for people living with autism by building relationships with and educating the public, business, civic, and community leaders around the country and globe. Her goal is to create an economic opportunity and a culture of inclusion and belonging for those impacted by autism. An autism mom, Becky was instrumental in having the town of Surfside Beach declared the first autism-friendly travel destination anywhere in 2016, and helped to institute the first quiet room in the country, among many other firsts. In her off time, Becky enjoys time with her family, beach life, and coming up with new programs to serve people with autism and their families near and far. Welcome back to Mother's Guide Through Autism podcast. I'm really excited to have Becky Large on our show. Welcome, Becky.
Hi, and thank you for having me. It's a real honor.
Absolutely. You got a bit of they got your background in the bio that they heard before they got on our interview. So I'm gonna just dive in and start with you sharing your personal journey as an autism mom.
So it started with our first son, and he's, of course, like all babies, fabulous and charming and everything else. But, as we started to progress through, he was meeting his benchmarks and speaking and everything, but, I had to take him to like a little daycare, and we would take him to my girlfriend's house, and she watched other kids, and he was watching Dora the Explorer. They all were. And, she'd say, say map. And like Harley just, nothing registered, where everybody else was like, yay, map, yay. So, you start to watch things. And then we sent him to a Quaker preschool, and they called us. It started in September. They called us in October, and they're like, there's something wrong with your kid. And we're like, there's nothing wrong with our kid. So anyway, we went through that. He got diagnosed with, he was in 95th percentile of ADHD. So that happened when he was 4. But that, I just knew that wasn't, you just know, it just wasn't right. So we continued to do what we had to do. And then we put him in public school, and they're talking medication. And Michael, my husband, didn't want to do that. And then we finally got the dual diagnosis of Asperger's, before the DSM-5 came out, and ADHD. And that's kind of when the whole thing started for us to learn. And then, we were just trying to work on supports for him and getting him an IEP. And then we relocated when he was in 3rd grade from outside of Philadelphia to Surfside Beach, South Carolina, which is the neighbor just south of Myrtle Beach. And there just didn't seem to be a lot here. until, and I don't know if it was like that everywhere. It just seems like there's a lot of resources, but hard to find them. You have to scratch the surface and then, figure out where they are. And that's when I started my endeavor with Champion Autism Network, was to support the families living with autism, because it's so isolating. I wanted them to be able to come out and play in a supported environment.
Yeah, that's I hear that a lot, and I think that's why I enjoy doing the work that I'm doing now, because it really is hard to navigate and know what therapies to do, know what to do when you get that initial diagnosis. For me, it was really daunting, and it was just like it rocked my whole world. And it's just there were so many different struggles. What were some of your biggest struggles, if you would like to share those?
Sure. Well, I think when he was not understanding, it was before the diagnosis and not really knowing anything, we would go, he hates clothes shopping, right? And always has. So, I remember this one night, I guess he was in like kindergarten or first grade, and he was supposed to go to like a Christmas show or something, and he needed a certain colored shirt, or I don't know. So I took him to the clothing store probably that night before it, because we're all running around like nut jobs most of the time. So, and he has like an absolute meltdown, and I was throwing gasoline on the flames, right? I was like, dang it, you've got to do what I tell you to do, and you blah blah blah, and I was surprised that they didn't call Child Protective Services, because I had to drag him out, and we've all had that. But I
Yes.
think even had I had the diagnosis, maybe it would have been a little bit better. But I was like, oh my God. And then the judgment of, sending him to the concert, or maybe he didn't even go. I can't remember, but it was like either he wasn't dressed properly or he didn't go. And I just felt like a complete failure. And then the other thing is that when they were younger, I used to travel every month for a few days a month, and go to Maine on business, mommy's little respite, yay, leaving the boys with their father. And so my husband was like, this is great. This is when there was Blockbuster Video next to the pizzeria, right? So he was like, let's go pick out a movie, and yay, and we're going to do this, and movie and ice cream. And his younger brother, Jackson, was like, aces. And then Harley was like, there's something really wrong here, and Mike was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but it was because we were so out of sync, and I wasn't there. And so those are the first inklings, and then, just trying to figure out how to navigate that. And I have to admit that I don't know that I really ever, I did better, but I can't say that I really embraced it until he was really a sophomore in high school, where he was, I mean, we did stuff and tried to understand, and certainly, put his younger brother through the numbers, because, the siblings really get the shaft a lot of times, because you're always trying to support the person with autism, and limit meltdowns. And then, so Harley's very smart, and he took this incredible workload with all these AP courses when he was a sophomore. And then, he wouldn't, we thought he wouldn't do the work, and he couldn't do the work. It was too much. And he didn't have enough supports. The child study team, none of us really understood the level of, executive level functioning issues that he had. And so he became, and we were all just up his butt, dude, you can't get zeros. And he became suicidal, and it was horrible. It was horrible. And I, I'm, God bless it. I'm good friends with Dr. Frampton Gwinnett from MUSC, and he's, you know, supports people, start all these great programs, internationally renowned, blah, blah, blah. So I called him, and I was like, we need help. And he said, you've got to just tell him he doesn't even need to graduate from high school. You have to remove every amount of stress that you can. You just let him know that. And that was a gut punch for sure, because my husband's an attorney, I'm college educated. And of course, when you have bright kids, you're gonna do this. You're gonna fit in my box. And yeah, no. So that was really a a really difficult time. It's 5 years later now, and he's doing well. He tried college, He wanted the full college experience, which based after, his sophomore year, you're pretty sure wasn't going to happen, but okay. And he lived successfully with 3 other guys without getting the snot knocked out of him. And I'm sure that beer pong had something to do with that. But anyway, he made it one semester. He tried. But what we discovered once he withdrew from the AP classes, they all decided he needed like a brain break class. So he chose guitar, and he's like a phenom. He's like off the charts, can listen to anything played. He's got like 6 guitars now and all this stuff. So that's his superpower, and he's detailing cars. So, and it's all about just be happy, right? And we're just trying to work with him on, daily living skills and being a good roommate rather than doing chores. Roommates help each other, so
Yeah. I love that you were willing to share that, because I do think that that is, one of the scary parts of this journey is there is a high suicide rate. And I think it's important to talk about it as hard as it is. So thanks for, sharing that.
yeah, it was a really challenging, really scary time. And then actually a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, we moved from the house that we were in for since we got here, 11 or 12 years. And, and for 3 months, again, depressed, wouldn't come out of his room. And again, we were really, really scared. And it took us a while to realize that it was the move. And we just, it's like as people, we were really excited. We had more space and fenced in yard for the dog, and oh my gosh, this is great, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm still shocked at the level of like the princess and the pea kind of type thing, if you want, although a big move, I guess, for him and many people with autism, it was huge. And I guess and our, I don't want to say inability, but not recognizing the impact on the person with autism. But, I still kind of get mad at myself, and I try not to feel guilty. He has a therapist and everything, and that's great. And thank God for her. But, every day is a new challenge. Some days he's more engaging than others. Some days I'll be asking a bunch of questions. And he's like, I'm out of here. And he'll just go to his room. You're never quite sure which side of the Siamese cat you're going to get, So, yeah.
Yeah. I think it can be. I think that the overwhelm for our kids, and I get what you're saying with, because I too would think, how can you forget that that would be a struggle for Joseph, or Joseph might get overwhelmed in this situation. I mean, how can you forget that? I mean, it's like he's doing so well. It's so easy to just go right back to neurotypical land. And, we all do it, I believe. I think it's just part of being human and
Neurotypical.
living on two different planets.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I say that, like really he woke up on Mars one day, or his life is an acid trip,
Yeah.
right? We just
Yeah.
have no idea, it's just, it will like how impacted he will be from the day's events or not sleeping or, like who, it really is amazing, really.
It really is. And so I think other, listeners listening to this conversation, depending on where you're at on the journey, you're nodding your heads, you're relating, or you may be at the beginning and you're like, oh no, don't worry. You've got two moms here that are doing this work to, Joseph and I do this just for knowledge, hope, and inspiration. And what I would say is it can be daunting, but there are, we get through it, right? And how do you get through it? You get through it by connecting with other moms, other parents. So I do want to let folks know this is how we connected. I'm reaching out to parents, moms, in a book, Superheroes on the Spectrum, that we're all part of. And what a blessing to make connections with other parents because I feel supported, and I don't really know. I hear this all the time. It's hard for other people to understand unless you're a parent of this child, right? Our kids. The other thing that I love is meeting all these awesome parents and getting to know how you're contributing your knowledge and your spirits out into the world, which brings me to Champion Autism Network. What made you decide to start this organization? Tell us about that.
So we relocated, and like I said, scratching the surface, trying to find supports or, with Harley being higher functioning, it wasn't like we needed the traditional therapies, OT, PT, ABA. He did get speech and pragmatic speech, which was very helpful for him, pragmatic speech specifically. So it's so isolating. And I went to a conference in Charleston, which is about 2 hours south, and there was all these resources in this gymnasium with all these people talking about all these great things. Lori Unum was there. So this was like before she was just getting started stumping for Ryan's Law. It was like very beginning of all this stuff. Dr. Peter Gerhardt was there. It was just amazing. And there was all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's nothing like this up where we are. And they're like, oh, it's transient, this, that, and the other thing. So I partnered with an organization down there called Low Country Autism Foundation. And we started a program up here. And we started with like a support group. And that didn't go anywhere. It really didn't, because there's, I think childcare was an issue, it was just, and we never know what we're doing from one day to the next, so, but then I decided I wanted to focus on the family, and I wanted to create environments that were modified for the person with autism so that the entire family could come out and play. So we started with sensory friendly movies where the lights are up, the sounds is down, and the people are free to move around. The first in the area. I've been doing that since spring of 2013, every month now. And the people were just so thrilled by this effort. They wanted to know like what else there was, right? I still call it our gateway activity because our people come, and they got the littles, like 3 and 4, and or even older. And we do fundraising to keep the movies free, because who's going to get up early on a Saturday morning and come out, spend 30-40 bucks on a movie knowing you're probably going to have to leave in 15 minutes? So we still do that. And it's true, we do have, first timers never make it more than 10 or 15 minutes. And sometimes it takes them a few times. But building from there, they wanted to know what else there was. So we started a training program. I took a survey and collected data, and people wanted to be able to go out to a restaurant. It was the number one thing. So I started a training program here in the Myrtle Beach area for restaurants, how to treat our families, where to seat them. And that was met with huge success. And then we had Surfside Beach declared the first autism-friendly travel destination anywhere in the world in 2016. And then that went on to training the hospitality industry, hotels, restaurants, blah, blah, blah. And we would do all that live and on site. And then that kind of, we started to approach mission creep with the nonprofit. So after a couple of years and the success, and of course, COVID, we took all of the training programs and we put them online. And now everybody in the world knows how to learn virtually. So now we're spreading out to other markets, and we started another organization. It started with as Lead with Love Training Company, because that's one of our messages, is really couple tips and tricks. But if you lead with love and reduce judgment, you're good to go. And then we rebranded last year as the Autism Travel Club, because that kind of really speaks to it. And then we have an app now to support our families. And now we're going into other destinations. So it's growing. Yay.
Yeah. Oh, what a great need, because I haven't met a family that doesn't bring up how difficult it is to travel, or as simple as going out to a restaurant. And like you said early on, you have other kids, right? You want your family to be able to go out and do things, and that's such a great service, because it is such a great need. The Autism Travel Club program, if somebody were interested in that, what do they do? How do you, like, what is it? Explain that if somebody heard that and they're interested in participating.
So there's two sides, right, to the Autism Travel Club. We have our well, actually there's three, sort of. We have our families. who, want to find out where they can go for a supported experience, whether that is a vacation, a meal out, maybe, bowling or, something like that. So they can go to autismtravel.club and download the app on either Apple or Google. And from there, there's a free version, and then there's another version that's $10 a year. And that provides you with every business that's trained and aware in the program offers a service or a discount to our families. Because even though our families knew they were going to somewhere that understood autism, they still didn't want to share the fact that they had autism, in any big bold way, like the scarlet letter A. So
Yeah.
we had a physical card before, but now we have the app. So they'd either show the card or they share the app, and then they get the discount or the service. So traditionally, after one or two purchases, it covers the $10 cost per year. Also, the other thing that they get to do is they get to create their family's own travel profile where they can, talk about what they like to do, where they'd like to go, and we can serve up to them different destinations or businesses and make suggestions of where they can go. If a family or parents or another autism nonprofit somewhere else would like to bring this program to their community, we do have an ambassador program it's wonderful. It's a lot though, right? It's a lot. So we have a whole portal with training videos and everything else, but I think that what I need to do is to educate a little bit more and say, if you're going to do this, you need to have at least 3 people, right? To really help do it, unless you want to do it like I did and take 11 years to build it to where we are. Mine's the Cliff Notes version now. And then the other one is our participating businesses. So they can enroll and take one of our modules depending on, what their industry sector is. We have hotels, resorts, retail, activities providers. I always forget something. General education, an education module. We're trying to get into the schools because every year there's at least one teacher who's a bully and doesn't know anything and doesn't want to look at the IEP or whatever. And then we have first responders as well.
Wow,
So they can
that's
sign up, and then they
yeah.
get to provide they get a listing on our online directory that our families look at, whether on app or online, and they offer discount or service. And we support everybody as much as we can because we want to create opportunity for our families and for our participating businesses that support them.
Yeah, it's so important. And I know it's such a struggle to travel, do all the things we're talking about. What practical travel advice would you like to share for families with kids on the spectrum?
Well, I think that we like to drive. Like I took a survey a couple years ago, and our families travel an average of like 525 miles to get to a vacation destination. I think the other thing is for them to know they're not alone. And yeah, it's not easy, but there are supports and services. If you're going to fly, totally leverage the crap out of TSA, right? Get to the head of the line, contact them days before, like get on the plane before everybody else, like, just do it. And, don't be afraid to ask for help. And many of us are, because we just want to be good kids and we just want to fly under the radar and act like everything's fine. One of the things that we say to the public at large, because we're trying to educate them as well through our public service announcements, is, that if you see a tantrum or a meltdown occurring, it's not a horrible child or evil parents. It's probably a family in crisis. Feel free to offer help or a smile. If they say no, thank you, don't be offended, but know that has changed their lives. That kindness, they will never, ever forget. I get emails all the time and text messages all the time about, oh my God, you have no idea what it meant that this person could support me. So it's more prevalent now, which I guess that's not good or bad. It just is. And, there are supports and services and people who just want to love on you, and you just got to let us know where you are and we'll come help.
Yeah, I hear that it's okay to ask for help and it's important to, and we all need it.
That's
I
true.
haven't met anyone that has never needed help. you know. So what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned as a mother on this journey?
It's interesting because, I think, I was just telling you about my struggles about, you know, autism and the boy and all that stuff, and like, so we were just hanging out the other day and I was like, you know, what's it, what's it like? And he's like, I don't know. It's just me. Right. So it's like stopping the dissecting of what is driving the behavior. Because it could be a tag in the shirt. Maybe he didn't sleep last night. Maybe he's hangry. Maybe he got bullied, and people with autism have a really hard time asking for help because they don't even know when they need it. It's just to them, they're just like, this is just the way it is. So trying to support the person and not the disorder.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Soaking it in. Yeah. That is really, and I think that's an important message. So I hope our listeners really heard that and absorbed it because it's important.
And wicked difficult. It's not easy. I think it might be hard. No, that's easier than losing weight, at least in my mind. Hold on,
Oh,
what does it say?
that's
No, 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 no. That's easier than losing weight. Yeah. Mhm.
oh my
Especially
gosh.
an autism mom. Self-care, right? God bless
Yeah.
you for coaching the moms. Moms, you got to take care of yourself. You got to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, and that's why I do it because I didn't.
Right.
Right. And so I didn't even know how. I didn't even know, like, I didn't even know what self-care was. Like, what are you talking about? So totally resisted that help and didn't understand it. So, yeah, that's a great message and also great advice. Right on. I also want to make sure that is there anything else you want to mention about your journey, anything about your work, anything that you want to mention before we go?
I don't think so. I think, the only thing I would ask is if you would let me and Champion Autism Network and the Autism Travel Club help and support you. And if you need help and support in your community, I might not live there, but chances are I know someone who does. I've been doing this for a while and, been part of a BBC documentary and NBC Nightly News and much like you, we're doing all kinds of stuff. You're publishing books, just I wake up every day trying to figure out how to better serve our families with autism and make a bunch of people happy. That's all I want to do. I say I plan quiet parties for a living, and that's kind of what I do. And I'd really like to do that with and for you. So if there's anything I can do, please do not hesitate to reach out. And I look forward to supporting you and your family.
Where's the best place? So the our listeners are going, yeah, 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 I want to reach out. Where can they find you?
So Champion Autism Network on Facebook, of course, at championautismnetwork.com. Champion Autism Network is the regional nonprofit autism awareness organization with sensory friendly events and everything here along the Grand Strand. And Champion Autism Network is the top partner and ambassador for the Autism Travel Club here in this area. Autism Travel Club, we're talking now to Galveston, Boston, communities in Oregon, Laurel Highlands. I know I'm forgetting somewhere, Kissimmee, Tampa. So, we're we're looking to go and grow and serve people here, there, and everywhere. Oh, and then the other thing, my
Yes.
World Autism Awareness Domination Plan, evil plan, is to take our online modules into other countries in their languages with culturally relevant imagery. And right now, I'm working with an amazing woman named Irene from Tuleani, Africa, in Nairobi, Kenya, and we're developing a module right now in Kiswahili for her to support her efforts. So if you see something on there, she could always use money to open her office. It's been a real eye opener working with a third world country and regimes and all this. Wow, like relatively speaking, people, we've got it pretty dang good. So I'm speaking with Irene, my buddy over there in Nairobi. And I actually filmed a podcast with her for my thing, Large Impact, which I'm going to be releasing soon. And it was really interesting because I was like, we were talking, and it comes out in the conversation that kind of all of this lack of autism awareness or acceptance there is it starts with the churches, right? And there's all these different tribes and villages. And so it starts with the religion where, a person with autism is going to have a tantrum or a meltdown, and they think that that person is filled with evil spirits. So they decide to have an exorcism. What's going to happen? They're going to have a tantrum or a meltdown, and they're going to go, score, we did it, they're gone, but they're not. Right? And
Right.
can you imagine that? Like, churches are the place that you're supposed to go for support and comfort and all that stuff. And here these poor people are being terrorized. The families are kind of, marginalized. They stuff these kids in a corner because they don't know what to do with them. Oh, and like just imagine the uphill battle that Irene or any other, like somebody who's knowledgeable about autism has. Like it's that doesn't get any more culturally ingrained than in religion.
Yeah.
So we just,
Yeah.
anyway, I just thought that was really interesting. I was like, man, those poor people.
Yeah. Yeah. That is again, it's just really, it gave me a shift in perspective. Even if it doesn't last, I know it's there to really think about how important it is to have these conversations. Why Joseph and I even started the podcast, just to bring forth the awareness. And then what I love is then you plant seeds and watch the magic grow.
It's true.
And so you just planted some seeds.
That's what we do, girly girl. That's what we do. We just help people and
Yeah.
happy to do it. Blessed to serve, right?
Oh, it brings me, I feel so fortunate to be able to do the work I'm doing. And it just feels really good to pay it forward in so many ways.
I'm super grateful for this opportunity and to know you and your fabulous son, Joseph. And whatever I can do to help you or your people or anything, obviously, I'm here.
Well, I feel like there, with all the things that you shared, and I know you're going to continue to grow and do fantastic things out there, you'll have to come back and make sure that you share those things with us. And I am so thankful that you made the time to come talk to me and our listeners. And thank you for being on our show.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was a great time.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and help Joseph and I share knowledge, hope, and inspiration to as many, many people as we can get to. I'll see you in the next episode.